Transformers 1 is the latest animated Transformers movie, this time taking us 3 billion years before any of the Michael Bay movies. That is a real number said by the producer of this movie. We follow two friends, Orion Pax and D16, on the planet of Cybertron, where we'll see their friendship evolve to the legendary feud of Optimus Prime and Megatron. And that's all, pretty much without any spoilers, you guys. This will be a spoiler-free review. So I actually got to see this movie months ago. Paramount was that confident in their animated interpretation for the Transformers franchise that they got together a bunch of creators to see the movie. It was a nice little event to go to, and even the voice actors, Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, opened up the movie. And well, ever since those months, I've kind of been dying to talk about this movie. There's a reason they showed it that early, and that's because it is pretty good. But I think I'm also simultaneously going to be a party pooper and say it's slightly getting overhyped. Let me go into the good and then I'll get into the bad. So starting off, I've actually always liked the animation they presented for Transformers 1. While some people kind of off with it or didn't think it really looked that great, I will admit the metal faces and moving mouths was something to get used to and still looks a little unnatural. That aside, I think this is a gorgeous movie. There's a ton of visually beautiful shots, so many nice uses of colors and lights, and when that gets paired with the action scenes that are actually way better than I expected. I think the action scenes in Transformers 1 might actually be better than anything we saw in the live action movies. I don't know how many other people will feel that way, but there are genuine times when robots are fighting, things are going on, and they really make use of this animated style. You know, because this is a story that apparently the Transformers producers have been wanting to make for a long time, and they mentioned if they tried making this in live action like they have been with the other Transformers movies, it would have cost billions of dollars to make. So instead they went the animated route, and if things go good, this will be a whole trilogy. And honestly, you could see the scope. Cybertron is huge. There is a lot going on in the background, in the foreground. It's a fastly paced world, but I like the energy of it. And you know what? I think to really further complement the movie and the way it kind of did surprise me, because I didn't know if I was going to end up liking it or hating this film, I'm going to mix in some of the negative aspects of the movie. I did think in the first 10-15 minutes I wasn't going to come out liking the movie because you can feel it is very juvenile at times. This is meant for a younger audience. A lot of the jokes weren't exactly landing for me. Sometimes it felt like maybe this was something that belonged on the Nickelodeon channel at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was really afraid the movie was going to kind of keep that pace going. But as the story continues, things unfold, and they really try to dive into the chemistry between young Megatron and young Optimus Prime. The story gets more mature and some darker elements come out. And I mean that the movie just gets progressively better until you get to that third act where it is just amazing. This is really where the movie just completely won me over, and you can see the potential for this 3-film series that they have planned. I don't think it's a spoiler to know where the stories of Megatron and Optimus Prime go and their eventual feud, and the way the movie kind of uncovers that in the third act, it is just done in a way that is so satisfying. I've already started to see some of the comparisons that like, oh, Transformers 1 is the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse for the Transformers fans. I'm not willing to go there just yet. I think that is a very high bar and a really big praise. To me, Transformers 1 is much more the TMNT Mutant Mayhem of the franchise. And by that I mean it's a movie that's clearly meant for new viewers. It is meant to draw in a younger generation, but they did not forget Transformers is loved by an older generation, and that is very much present throughout the movie. While you can tell some of the humor is a little more juvenile, it's a little bit silly at times. Throughout the course of all this, there are clear references, Easter eggs, not in-your-face stuff, a lot of background things. It at times gets so deep in Transformers lore or inside jokes of the franchise that I was completely lost. I thought I kind of knew my Transformers stuff, but sitting in that fan screening with much bigger diehard Transformer fans, there were a couple of lines or Easter eggs that would pop up that would just go over my head, but the crowd would be reacting to them, and I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta look that up. What does that mean? And so the stuff is really there where they pay respect to the older audience, even though this is meant to bring in a newer crowd. And with that, let me now get into some of the more negatives that I thought were holding it a little bit back for me. I think the voice acting still gets some getting used to. I think both Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry are the most that you actually can get used to as Megatron and Optimus Prime, especially towards the end of the movie where you can really see them kind of tweak their voices to fully fit the persona that that they've become. But then other times I'll hear like Keegan-Michael Key, who's someone I really like and I think is so funny, especially when he's out there going Badassatron. But sometimes the voice acting just took a little bit more getting used to. And probably like the biggest negative for me that I'm wondering if other people are going to feel the same way is the transition Megatron goes through in this movie. Now, like I said, I don't really think it's a spoiler to say what will happen to Megatron and Optimus Prime in the future. I mean, this is the origin story of how they went to friends to enemy. And that's for sure what had me the most interested in the movie. And while I think the Optimus Prime side of it and how he really wants to yearn for something greater, wants to dig in places maybe he shouldn't, and almost become a leader, Megatron's transition felt a little forced to me at times. There's definitely moments where you could understand why he's mad, why he's angry, why he might have turned, but I felt some of that motivation was not done all that well, and it felt a little rushed. So whenever Megatron did finally turn, or he was starting to get evil, it didn't feel that well earned. It felt like, oh, he's just got to turn evil because this is Megatron. He's gonna turn evil. I felt like there could have been maybe a little bit more that sparked that transition or that made it feel more smooth instead of a little turned. And so to me, that's kind of what holds it back. Is like, that's such a crucial part of this movie. But like I said, the third act of this movie is so awesome. I think you really won't be thinking about that. You'll just be finally happy you're seeing those transitions happen. I really do think this is good. And it makes me excited for whatever 3-film arc they have going on for this franchise. So when it comes to Transformers 1, I'm going to give action 4 stars. Like I said, I think the action scenes in here are going to be the most underrated part of the movie. I really do believe some of it is a lot more engaging than what we saw in the live action version. Not to say there isn't great action in the live action movies, but here they feel more fluid and they get a little bit more creative with all the transforming aspects. Comedy in the movie, I'll give it 3 stars. While a lot of the humor is very juvenile, once you get into a rhythm of it and things start getting balanced out with the more serious stuff, the humor starts to land a little bit more. Drama in the movie, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. It would have gone to that 4-star if they could have really have nailed that Megatron transition, but even then, there was enough there that really made it impactful for the third act. Horror in the film, I'll give no stars to. It's a pretty family-friendly movie. I will say Megatron might get a little scary with them red eyes, but that's about it. And suspense of the film, I will give it 3 stars. I think since you know where the journey of this friendship will lie, you can kind of see some of the turns that are about to happen, and that'll take away a bit of your suspense, but that third act can still throw you for a loop. Casual moviegoers, I'm going to give this an A+. Cinephiles, I'm going to give it an A-. And critically, I'm going to give it a B+. So when it comes to Transformers 1, I think it is a great start to what hopefully will be an awesome trilogy that you should add to your collection at home.
That's a keeper. Yes.
I can't wait to see what you guys think about Transformers 1, what you like, what you didn't like. If you're a real diehard Transformers fan that lives and breathes it, let me know some of your favorite Easter eggs in there, because man, there were times in that theater I was like, oh, something happened. I just missed it. What happened? Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.
Badassatron.